have to balance the necessity of the resources needed to fight our adversaries, and at the same time balancing that against waste. The 9/11 Commission spoke fairly effectively to this. You want redundancy. You want some redundancy built into that system.
All right, Press Secretary Robert Gibbs responding to the Washington Post's investigative series Top Secret America and whether our intelligence community is too big to function properly. Joining us now to add to this conversation, Republican representative from New York and ranking member of the Homeland Security Committee, Congressman Peter King. In a letter to Attorney General Eric Holder, Congressman King raises concerns about potential lapses in oversight of the banking industry that may have allowed billions of dollars to be laundered from persons in the Middle East through a Bank of America account.
Congressman, thank you for being with us. Let's start with the question of this Washington Post series. Is our Intel Committee too large, too out of control, or do you look at what's happened since 9/11 and say they're doing something right? No more attacks since that terrible day when so many of your friends and constituents died in the World Trade Center.
Yeah, Joe, I think the Washington Post story raises some points, but I also think it gives a distorted view of the intelligence community. The situation today is far better than it was on September 11th. There is a tremendous amount of information sharing. Now, I'm a Republican. I have no partisan obligation here to be defending the administration, but certainly the NCTC, the National Counterterrorism Center, is doing, I think, a very good job. It can be better, but it's doing a good job. Leon Panetta at the CIA, I believe, is doing a good job. We do have real questions about what the purpose of the Director of National Intelligence is. Admiral Blair was removed, forced to resign, and that is still a question that has to be resolved. But I do have questions for instance, the Congress. The Congress has 108 committees and subcommittees dealing with Homeland Security. We're the most remiss of all, or the Congress is. I've been trying to fight that. And also, I think that...
Peter, didn't the 9/11, we had this huge hearing, the 9/11 hearings, and wasn't that one of the takeaways from that Congress needed to get its act together?
Absolutely, and I have been...
Have you?
I've done all I can, but no, the leadership has not done it, and we still have 108 committees and subcommittees, which is absolute insanity, and that does slow down the progress of the intelligence community. But on other issues, there is one other criticism I do of the administration. I believe that people like John Brennan in the White House are trying to micromanage the intelligence community. I think that we have to let people like Leon Panetta do his job, people like Mike Leiter at the NCTC do their job. And I think probably what I find most troubling about the Washington Post is I think it gives the distorted impression that there is no cooperation. I'll give you an example. Last September, Zazi was coming to blow up the New York City subway system. He was not on anyone's radar screen. The fact is that was picked up by an overseas intercept, one of those many layers of defense. We were looking for somebody else, and we got Zazi. And that's why it's important to have 2, 3, 4 layers of defense. We're not up against a traditional enemy like the Soviet Union.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I heard a commentator last night talking about this issue, saying we need to set up a commission to look into this. Okay, another one? Great. Kind of, I think, the point of the problem. But even more so, isn't one of the reasons why it is so massive and what we're looking at has so many different layers and maybe even overlaps, is that counterterrorism and the issue of terrorism in itself is not like figuring out what war to wage where with what machinery and what personnel. It's got tentacles everywhere. It seeps out in every way, shape, and form.
So much information. We've said it before. Barnacle, is Barnacle in D.C.?
No, I'm in
New York. Barnacle, I always love hearing you tell the story without revealing the name of one of the top law enforcement officers in America. Talking about how if America knew how much intel he was getting day in and day out, they wouldn't sleep at night.
Yeah, Congressman, I'm sure that you know of whom I speak when I tell the story that asked him once about the job that he was doing. He said he looks at the overnight intel reports. They come in about 4:30 in the morning. And he looked at me and said, you know, if you read what I read at 4:30 in the morning, many, many mornings, you wouldn't want to get out of bed.
Yeah, Mike, I agree with that completely. And I think in some ways we've been victims of our success because we have not been attacked. And we've been lucky a few times, but very skillful many other times in stopping plots. Because of that, the American people don't realize how enormous this threat is. And that's why it sounds like, why you have all these thousands of people doing all this work. The fact is, most of them are needed. Listen, we can always make it more sophisticated, always make it more refined. But with these, we do need those contracts, and we do need these various layers of defense. We have an enemy. Islamic terrorism wants to destroy us, and they come in many forms, in many ways, and many mutations.
And Didi, we also have the problem though with we can't get one figurehead over the whole thing. We tried it with Dennis Blair. That's failed.
That didn't work out, but obviously there will be somebody else that will take that job. And as Congressman King said, we'll keep refining it and hopefully making it more sophisticated. Maybe whittling it down.
Peter King, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
Up next, what if anything?